Today's Spotlight on Naperville is brought to you by BMO Harris Bank, committed to supporting the not-for-profits that make Naperville a community that cares. Welcome back to Spotlight on Naperville, Community That Cares. I'm Nancy Wearsome, and we have such a unique segment here. I'm so excited about it. The Dupage Education Foundation, and Dr. Darlene Ruschetti is here, who is an ex officio member of the Dupage Education Foundation, but also the superintendent of the Dupage Regional Office of Education. So welcome to you.
Well, thank you.
Very nice of you to come out. And Dr. Lourdes Farrar is a consultant with the Equity and Excellence Department.
Yes, I am.
So welcome to you.
Thank you.
And Stephen Garlington is here, and a consultant as well with the Equity
indeed.
and Excellence Department. So welcome to you.
Thanks for having me.
We're delighted to have you. So let's begin by talking about the Education Foundation and the role it plays.
I'm going to go all the way back to 2003. No Child Left Behind legislation came out. And in Dupage County, we took a stand and we said, you know what, we're going to be the first county in the nation where every one of our children are going to meet or exceed state standards. So now, what are we going to do about it? So there was the challenge. Certain things we could do, we looked at it from an academic perspective, what can our teachers do? But we also looked at it too from a society perspective, from a home and family perspective, and also too from a student perspective. And so recognizing that we would need some funds to do this and to be kind of entrepreneurial and to be a little bit more innovative and creative, we developed the foundation so we would have opportunities to do some things a little bit out of the box.
And you did.
And we did.
And you did. It has resulted in an incredible project, a book called Voices. And I'm just going to say here, Voices is the African American and Hispanic students' perceptions regarding the academic achievement gap. And I'm going to turn to you, Dr. Farrar, and ask you a little bit about the book and maybe give us an overview of what Voices is.
First of all, I'm fascinated by the name Voices. Because Voices in reality represents what is it that African American and Hispanic students think are the reasons why they don't achieve higher academic success. You know, we spend so much time asking principals, researchers, educators, why is it that so many of the students from these two ethnic groups, they don't do better? But we decided to do something different. Why don't we, instead of asking the experts, why don't we ask the kids? So we have been spending years and years asking hundreds, close to 1,000 kids, why is it that you don't do better on the test? Because at the end, the schools are held accountable for the student performance. They have to answer to a test. They have to bubble an answer, A, B, C, or D. So the students are supposed to get the answer right so they can do better on the test. So the schools are evaluated as good schools. Let's go and ask the kids, why is it that you don't do well on the test? So we have been doing this for so many years, and then once we collected data for 5 years, we decided, why don't we put it in a book?
In a book. I love it.
So that means that Voices is just what the kids think is holding them back from achieving greater academic success.
You said that so beautifully. So
I'm passionate
beautifully.
about
I
it.
can tell that. I can tell that. So Stephen, let's talk about those nearly 1,000 voices and how you went about that.
Well, we visited a number of schools where we talked to the African American students, the higher achieving students, primarily because we wanted them to, after we talked with them and they gave us their feedback, we wanted them to articulate that in a way that we felt would be in the best interest of coming together and sharing this information. So as we did that, it was almost like the book was almost an afterthought, because as we began to accumulate this information and we became very surprised at some of the comments and some of the outcomes that the kids were talking about, that's when the epiphany came about as, let's put this information in a book where we can share this information with the community at large, with educators, parents, so that we could perhaps look at a more effective way of delivering innovative ways to have strategies to close the academic achievement gap. And so that's how that came about. It's very exciting.
And what were some of the findings?
Well, the findings, again, were based on the students' concerns. We took all their concerns, all their feedback, and we looked at the emerging themes. Those emerging themes became the findings. And one of the things I found most interesting about the findings, because I deal with a lot of Afro-American students, primarily as my responsibility, is that the one thing they did not look at as the primary underlying reason for the academic achievement gap was racism. we tend to fall back or default to that as the overarching reason why we don't do better. And the students saw it differently. They looked at community, they looked at family involvement, things of that nature, that if we pay more attention to those kind of things, they could do better. Look at some of the test results, the test itself, but not that particular area, and that was very surprising to me.
Fascinating. Now, Dr. Ricchetti, I want to quote you because I found a beautiful quote on your website, and I congratulate you for that. You said, quote, "We have a moral imperative to educate all our students," unquote. So how does this study impact education?
We don't usually use that phrase. You don't hear it a lot, moral imperative. But I think another key word in that, in that quote is all children. And I'm going to go back again to, we can say, aren't we great? 90% of our children are meeting or exceeding state standards, and X amount of our students are getting on to the next, going on to, have great careers. And but what about the students, that 10% of the students? And I do believe that we have a moral imperative to do the right thing for those kids as well too.
And so you found, you've made actually 27 actionable recommendations for schools and communities based on
The findings.
and
25
that are in the book,
findings.
the book
findings.
Voices. Fascinating. Can you give us a couple?
Recommendations. Well, one of the things is that we have to pay attention to the academic gap earlier. We cannot wait until they're in high school because sometimes we notice that things are not doing well when there is a 40-point gap between white students and African American students, or 30 points between whites and Hispanics. The gap starts not in kindergarten. The gap starts before they come to school. So one of the things that we learned and one of the things that we recommend is that the community at large start paying attention to kids even from the moment they are born, because by the time they get to school, to kindergarten, the gap is already there. So one of the things that kind of surprised us is that the kids are telling us we're behind, because when we take the test, the math that is in that test, the passages that they have to read, the questions that they have to answer is too hard for them, because in reality they're 2 and 3 years below grade level.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. And I have to say, unfortunately, we're running quickly out of time. We have so much to talk about here, but I want to encourage people to go onto your website. They can purchase the book through Amazon, correct?
Right.
The funds, proceeds, benefit the foundation for further work, but they can find out what these 27 recommendations are. And we hope everyone does that. And congratulations to all of you.
Thank you.
Truly
Thank you.
groundbreaking study.
Thank you. You're very kind.
Congratulations.
We appreciate it. Thank you.
And we're going to take one last break. When we come back, we'll hear from Kids Matter. So stay with us.